Hey guys, I am Caleb Giddings.
I'm Keith Finch.
And I'm Jack.
And we're wearing the same clothes as we were in last week's episode because for the first time we ended on a cliffhanger, I feel like.
Bum, bum, bum.
So this week, after spending last week, poking fun at the Blade Boys, the knife people, we decided that we were gonna talk about people's EDC rigs and some of the EDC tomfoolery, EDC standing for everyday carry, not electric dance class or whatever. What is it? Electric dance. What does EDC stand for, Jack?
One, it's EDM and it's electric dance music.
Okay.
Or electronic dance music.
I was wondering where you were going with
the
that.
EDC that you're talking about is
there's an M.
Electric Dance Carnival in Vegas. So like when you're walking around Vegas at SHOT Show, you'll see signs for like EDC coming soon. And that's
what I was thinking of, because I will occasionally get cross-pollination for the EDC hashtag into my posts, and people will be like, why do you carry all of those things? And I'm like, well, you see, sir, we're from two different planets.
They're not that different. They're not that different. I was at an EDM festival, and I like look over at a guy and I'm like, you, and he's like, you, and I'm like, yes indeed, good sir. Like,
it's always funny when you run into, for lack of a better way of saying it, gun owners in the wild, where you're like, oh yeah, we do have interests outside of this sort of stuff and
right.
That sort of thing. And especially when they're like not traditional gun owner interests, right? Like you would expect to meet somebody who concealed carries at a Harley Davidson rally. That would be,
right.
But then you're like, wait, and I mean, in our circle of friends, it wouldn't be unusual to meet somebody who carries at a Taylor Swift concert. However, that's not the expected norm.
And there are giveaways. There are things that I see on somebody where I'm like, that's a gun guy. I don't go into them because I think people like over focus on those things. Like, I got to remove every shred of evidence that I ever liked a gun. And I'm like, bro, calm down. Like, calm way down.
It's okay. Just act casual.
If you see,
I don't know. Fly casual.
Yeah, you're fine.
However, if you see a dude wearing like an untucked zip up, like quarter zip up shirt, decent jeans, and Solomon speed cross shoes, like out in public,
got you. I got you.
We were good right up until the gun or the shoes. And you're like, oh, the speed crosses are a dead giveaway. Mind you, I'm wearing speed crosses right now. So
right. I look at it as like,
nope.
Gotcha. I like Merrells. Merrells are always a good sign down here.
Merrells are a good tell. But speaking of tells, and like we got it focusing. So today we were talking about dumb things that people EDC, or dumb people who have these EDC things. And I'll go first because the one that drives me nuts, and I see this a lot because I'm both on Instagram and TikTok, and this is where these people live. But this is before I get into this, I am not defaming anybody who chooses to carry a gun. It's awesome. You do you. However, there's a certain subset of these people that I call the girl boss boy mom concealed carry people. And you know who I'm talking about, because they'll get like a crappy belly band, right? It's never, these women never, although they're starting to like do it now with the Filster Enigma, and which used to be, the Enigma used to be how I could tell someone knew what the fuck they were talking about. And now there's so many people who have just bought these, they pollinated that. I mean, it's nice to see that Filster is making money.
It's hitting Gen Pop and going beyond Gen Pop to weird concept pop.
It's nice to see that Filster is making money off of these women's essential oil scams, so good for them. But it's the girl boss boy mom who gets her belly band and she's got a Glock 19 and a spare mag and a karambit and a bunch of other shit in there, and she puts this thing on in her kitchen and she puts her giant baggy designer sweater over it, and then she'll do the reel where she like pulls it up and drops it down, and the caption is always like, I protect my babies at all times, or some bullshit like that. And you fucking know that the second she finishes recording that, she takes all that shit off and puts it back in the drawer and goes to Costco with like maybe a Ruger LCP in her purse.
Yep,
yeah,
definitely not carrying the first aid kit all the time. Definitely not carrying the the pepper spray, like maybe the pepper spray if it's attached to her keychain or something like that, but then that gets shoved into her purse or something like that, so it's not exactly accessible.
People with backpacks that turn into plate carriers.
Yeah,
that's a whole.
No, it's the same person. It's the same concept.
It's a different feel of that exact same person because it is the same concept.
They're just standing there with like
prepared carry.
I'm chilling. I'm relaxing. I'm suddenly a commando.
Right.
Like what the fuck?
Well, and those are weird for me too because like I guarantee that all of the people who post those on Instagram have never had to wear plates for an extended period of time. Plates are like if you want your plates to actually be good at stopping a rifle threat, like I guess you could have a backpack that had like soft plates in it and you're gonna, you know, stop a 9mm, but like if you want your plates to actually like stop some shit, they weigh an amount. I have the in my personal vest, I have the Hesco special threat plates, which are the lightest ones you can get that will still reliably stop a 5.56. And I still don't want to wear that for 12 hours. I don't want to like throw them over my shoulder like a Continental soldier and go walking around with them in my backpack.
If I don't have to have
that's
I'm not
20 pounds worth of armor, even with those plates. Like those good plates with the kit, with very basic kit, not loaded down with radio, comm stuff, water, anything like that. That's still 20 pounds of armor.
Right. And now it's in your backpack, which also has your laptop and like all of your other shit in it.
Yeah,
like,
you just like imagine you do that and your crap goes everywhere.
Like, you fling it over your head. You watch your MacBook Pro go sailing out. Like, I'd rather die.
I'd rather be shot.
you get the plates to here and you're just like, fuck it. I'd rather die now. Like, I can't replace that. That thing's like $3 grand.
I'm not telling my boss I need to replace that.
Oh man.
Why? Because someone set off a firecracker in Costco.
It was
like, it's my time.
Somebody's crappy car had a blowout.
I can't stand. So I'm on two sides of this. I can't stand too much ammo, but I also can't stand not enough ammo.
Cops and revolver.
Like, all right, so you got a guy over here that has 3 spare magazines, and I'm like, bro, just leave.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, just leave. And then way over here, you got a guy who always says, you're not going to need that.
Right.
You're never going to need that. And then they're like, I've got all, you know, like there's all this evidence.
You can't do it in insert number of rounds.
Right.
That's
three rounds and 3 yards. And I'm like, just like, oh God, how are both you guys so predictive? Like, I don't carry a spare magazine when I go to my mailbox, obviously. I don't like make your own decision, but the surety at which people will tell you what you will and will not need in an unknown situation baffles me.
It is pretty maddening. Like that's kind
of the Bond Arms Defender is the one. I will use the Bond Arms pistol with my 2 shots of 45 ACP. I had a guy come through my class 2 or 3 weeks, probably about a month ago at this point. He was the first one that actually showed up with a Bond Arms seriously wanting to use it. He shot it twice, put it down, and he goes, "That's not pleasant at all." I'm like, "Yeah, and you didn't hit anything." So
yeah, guess what? Not fun, homie. So that's an interesting. So obviously last week we talked about like knife guys and the weird subsets of guys, the Derringer guys and their weird subset. The NAA mini Derringer guys they're very strange because they have this idea that like,
and I'm going to get all of them. They buy them all.
Yeah,
all
they
the guys like I know who buy these pistols buy all of them. They have every one.
Well, and then the other thing they always say, all of the Derringer guys always say, oh, well, I'll just stick it into his ear or jam it up his nose. And you know what none of them have ever done? Try that in a contested environment. Like, you know what? Just try it. Go to ECQC. Try to take your index finger and screw it into somebody's ear without their permission and see what happens.
eye gougers.
Like, try to give somebody a wet willy at ECQC, because that's fundamentally the same as trying to jam one of those NAA mini Derringers. And you'd probably have a higher success rate with the wet willy because you don't have to fucking cock it and pull that little vestigial trigger on it either.
That thing is the worst thing I've ever used to initiate any sort of weapon system ever. I hate it. I hate it so much.
And I don't want to, and I'm not hating, I do have to qualify this because I've actually met a lot of people who work for North American Arms, and they are very passionate gun geeks. And I actually love the NAAs for one of the things that they represent, which is the miniaturization of a complex engineering problem. And making a revolver work in that small scale is no insignificant feat. And I think they're really cool for that. And I have owned them in the past and thought they were cool as sort of like interesting engineering oddities. But I'm also not trying to get in a gunfight with one of them, or a fist fight, or any sort of fight. I would rather carry a fixed blade knife.
That's the person we're talking about, not the interesting thing, not the, hey, this is neat. We're talking about someone who seriously considers, no, this is definitely the gunfighting solution I'm picking.
Please click our GoFundMe link below to get Keith real internet.
Yeah, Keith, why don't you kill? I'm low key about to have you tell you to. Why don't you kill your video so that you can get better throughput on your audio, because that's gonna help. All right. Hopefully, Keith won't turn into a robot.
Keith is in the nuclear wasteland called Detroit. Internet there is
it's problematic.
Well, look at that. We can hear him better. All right. So anyway, but yeah, it's those guys, the weirdos who are like, this is my personal defense weapon, and they have an NAA mini. And I'm like, but personal defense from what? Like, how are you gonna? Okay, you do you, boo.
Very aggressive squirrels. Very, very aggressive squirrels.
And those things are also hard to shoot well, which is that too. But the Derringer guys are a very weird EDC subset. I am with Jack too on the too much ammo and too little ammo. And I've run into the too little ammo thing a lot because I carry a revolver as a primary, where I'm not. And a secondary. Wait, is that a channel? Primary and second. Anyway,
we should copyright that one. It's a good one.
Oh, that's a good idea. So, but the thing with that is, if you're being like, you know what, I am accepting the risk of only carrying 6 rounds, that's different than the whole mindset of, if I can't do it in 3, it's not worth doing, you know. But these are all nuances. And I do, and I've ranted about this before, it really bugs me. The ones that do bug me are like the performative EDC, where it's whether it's girl boss boy mom in the kitchen with her, you know, Batman belt that she doesn't actually carry, or it's the guy who like lays out his junk on the bunk display, and it's like a Glock 34 with an X300 and an RMR and 2 spare mags and a Glock 26 on his ankle, and, you know, 3 knives, because that means he's a weirdo because he's got 3 knives, a handheld light, and, you know, medical. And I'm like,
and a 4-pound first aid.
Yeah, and an IFAK that he literally stole from his deployment to Iraq as a motor T guy.
So I worked with a guy like this in the gun store, who always had like a million answers in his pockets. Like, I got a gun here, I got a gun here, I got a mag here, knife here, all the answers in all the pockets. And we went and took a combatives class, and he showed up with a training variant of every one of these answers.
Okay, you have to admire his commitment.
Including training blue mags, AR mags, because he would carry an AR mag in each of his like back weird slashy pockets of the weird pants he wore, because he worked at a gun store and he could always just grab an unloaded AR.
An unloaded, unzeroed AR. Very exciting.
Well, I mean, inside of the gun store, who's to know?
It's inside a gun store.
We're just going to be sending it. This is the same place that we had. It was kind of a corporate-y store, and they did robbery training, and they're like, what should you do in case of a robbery? And we're like, we have all these guns, and they're like, wrong answer. You should give the people whatever they want. And like all the grizzled old hands looked at me, and they're like, mm-mm. And I'm like, hold on, I got this. I'm like, I actually went to a negotiation school I took negotiator training. Would you guys like for me to handle that should it ever come up? And they're like, we had no idea. I'm like, yes, I am a graduate with honors from the Corbin Dallas School of Negotiation. And anytime
I knew that's where this was going.
If there's any sort of hostile negotiations, I'd love to take part in that. And I'm sure I could talk to some of these other fellows and they too could get a little bit of training on that. And like all the old salty hands are like, you have lost your mind. You are not doing it. I swear to you, the manager looks at me and goes, that would be awesome. Thank you. And then he went off. He was like from Home Depot or some dumb stuff. Like I'm like, and everybody's like, what are we gonna like? When he left, I was like, all right, here's what's up. If you don't want to be involved in a gunfight, just lay down. Like, like everybody else, watch your sections. Watch your backstops.
I've always wondered about like the people who attempt daylight hours robberies of occupied gun stores, because all of the camera footage is always the same. Dude walks out, pulls out his gun, gets lit up by everyone in the store.
I had to find a store where it wasn't very serious considered.
Keith's internet
I have yet to find a gun store.
Oh, and he just died.
Oh no, we lost Keith.
Keith's dead, guys.
In the arms of an angel.
Far away. Oh wait, hang on. He might be back.
Clothing specific carry. Like when you have a setup that only works with one outfit, that I'm really weirded out by that.
I will caveat that I have a rig that's specifically designed for like business casual environments where I only have one pair of pants that it really works with, but those are I'm going to a nice place that doesn't require dress pants. And right. It's also, so like, and this is kind of the thing, like to dial back from like making fun of people for just a hot second. There's a huge difference between developing concealed carry solutions that are mission specific to an environment that you're going to be in versus having something that like this only like if you can only carry a Glock 34 when you're wearing a double XL t-shirt, for example, and you weigh 160 pounds, then you have concealment problems. It's not a specific thing. So there is some wiggle room in that. Ooh, here's one. And I don't know why I'm being mean to girls right now, but I love women. They're great. Thigh holsters under dresses, which I find very, very fun, but not at all practical for actual concealed carry.
The thigh holster one, I agree with you with.
Wait, you agree with me that they're very, very fun for recreational purposes? Or...
Yeah, they look cool. They look hot.
Great. Ladies, however, wear all the thigh holsters that you like. If you have like a gun in a thigh holster, that's really hot. Like,
but under a dress belly band seems to work really well, and under the dress Enigma seems to work really well. So I don't want to like throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like any carry under a dress doesn't work. It does. There are things you sacrifice for it. I actually have a wedding coming up where I am the officiant and I have to do it in Ren Fair garb. So I'm probably going to deep carry under my kilt.
Oh man, Keith, please tell me that your audio is back and you have a comment about that.
Oh, the kilt carry. I have seen it done badly, unfortunately, and it was with. Do you guys remember sticky holsters?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah. So this fine, upstanding, and possibly showered that week gentleman showed up, got a sticky holster, brought the pistol out that was just kind of chilling, put it in, shoved it back in, and started hopping around the store in the kilt. So that was fun.
Did it drop through his kilt on the ground?
And it dropped through on the fourth hop.
Love it. Love it. Sticky holster. Now, sticky holsters are one of there's some concealment products where I'm like, this is completely stupid and it makes no sense. And sticky holsters is one of those products because it doesn't do anything that you cannot do with something that's got a DCC monoblock clip on it. they're not good pocket holsters because they're designed to like go in your pants for beltless carry because they're sticky and they're just bad at it. You might as well just
you can't do beltless carry. You have to do it with a belt.
I would rather just Mexican
like
carry, just throw the gun.
What they were was like $19. And then I had another guy who was just standing there, and I knew he had bought a sticky holster at one point in time, and I was pretty sure he was carrying with it in loose sweatpants. And so as I was talking with another customer, I see this shape start to run down his legs slowly, and him look really uncomfortable as this thing slowly descends like a Plinko chip down one of the legs of his sweatpants.
It's like a sad metal turd and he just shit himself and it's coming down.
and then his little Glock 26 ended up on the ground. And I'm like, yes, that was certainly a thing.
Do you guys remember that when the key bar was like the hot EDC trend for a while?
Yeah, never really tracked on that myself, but
I wondered why people have that many keys.
Right. Not to mention, like, it puts a lot of weight on whatever you're like putting that into.
Yeah. And like it was always the same guy. He always had a big chunky G-Shock, which I love a big chunky G-Shock. If you're watching the video thing, the box right behind me next to my little TV is full of big chunky G-Shocks. Fucking love them. Not hating on that, but it was always this guy. He would have a big chunky G-Shock on with the face turned inwards, which is a super uncomfortable to wear a watch. It's a super uncomfortable way to wear a watch with a face that big. Anyway, he'd have the super chunky G-Shock, face turned inwards, key bar, knife, Glock 19. Like it was always that picture, and they would always super overexpose it to make his hands look rougher than they actually were, because you know that guy moisturizes.
Whoa, everybody should moisturize. You need a skincare routine.
In
Okay?
the words of Bernie Mac, you should probably just wear gloves to bed, actually. If somebody in the comments somebody in the comments can identify that movie reference, we will email you a fabulous prize of some value. I don't know.
We will give you some of Keith's internet, which is very precious because
Keith doesn't have any internet to spare. We can't do that. All right, guys.
You can have.
I got one more. I got one more.
So we're gonna do one more trip around the dial. So we're gonna go to Jack, then Keith, then me, and we're gonna close this episode out.
$1,500 gun of whatever in a cheap paddle holster.
$1,500 gun period in a cheap holster, like floppy, or those floppy inside the waistband Uncle Mike's holsters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The inside the waistband holster worn opposite side outside the waistband.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a gun store. That's something you see in gun stores.
That is a gun store classic, and usually High Point.
Often High Points. I've seen, having worked gun stores in South Florida, I've seen that one can combine with Jack's to become one person, where they have like a really nice expensive gun in an inside the waistband holster worn incorrectly on the outside, and it can combine with my person, which is the person with the extremely fancy Glocks that they put an Apex trigger in and gotten stippled and done all of these things to, but haven't changed the fucking sights. They've got a Glock with an extra $500 of work into it, and it still has the stock plastic sights on it. And I'm like, bro, why? All of this work, all of the stippling and the triggers and all of this other stuff, and you have a Glock with factory sights in an inside the waistband, in a $15 inside the waistband holster worn on the outside on the wrong side. That guy. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, liking, sharing, and subscribing. I hope you enjoyed our cliffhanger episode that we ended with. Keith's visual is back for the last minute of this episode, so he can raise his hands and point at our sponsor banner, which we're putting in the wrong fucking spot of this episode. All right, guys, thank you. We'll be back next week.